Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. Rutgers has its tight end coach. They are doing an in-house promotion of Scott Vallone. He previously was an offensive assistant, quality control coach. He obviously played at Rutgers. He was a big-time recruit, I think in the class of 2008 or 2009. This one makes a lot of sense, especially given the timing of everything. You kind of missed the boat on a lot of the coaching carousel situations. So I think it's a fine hire. What do you think of the elevation of Scott Vallone to tight ends coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the sexy hire that I think everyone was kind of expecting a little bit because there were some notable names out there. But if you noticed, like even the names we put out there that have connections to Greg and have connections to Kirk, most of these guys are they either sat out last year completely or they already got a new job within the past like month. When you do that, you really don't want to move around a lot, especially like say hypothetically a Clay Patterson. It's like, hey, he's been in Florida for the past couple of years. Then all of a sudden, maybe just bought a house like in at Kent or close to Kent State, and it's like, oh shit, now I got to sell this house and go again. Like it's a lot of work, and plus he has a lot of titles out there too at Kent State, so he's a tough one. A lot of other guys were Bill Kenny was retired. A lot of guys are just let go, so maybe they just want to take a year off and just get that paycheck, get that buyout money. But Scott Vallone is a pretty good recruiter. He's been on the trail over the past year with Pat Flaherty on staff. He's been kind of rotating in for Pat as far as going on the road, checking out high schools, recruits, all that good stuff. And he played a major role in the recruiting trail this past season, too. He helped them land Isaiah Crumpler, 3-star wide receiver out of North Carolina, Corey Duff, 4-star wide receiver out of New York, and Raynor Andrews, 3-star offensive lineman out of Florida. So those are 3 different areas. He's also been involved with a couple other kids who have already gotten offers down in the Carolinas. And he also just recently helped him and Charlie Noonan kind of are the tag team duo that helped him land Jaden Elijah, who's one of the better kids in state. So this is I think it's a pretty good hire. I don't think it's anything special, but I think it's a solid hire. And he's a guy that's paid his dues. And honestly, I said this off the pod, I'll say it now. You're kind of just grooming him to be the next offensive line coach at this point. And I think that's a good sign when you're running under a guy like Pat Flaherty.
Yeah, definitely. Pat Flaherty is one of the best to ever do it. Rutgers is really lucky to have him. And another thing we're kind of talking about offline is, when you have these young coaches and you elevate them in title, if you don't have a good mentor to show you the ropes and, explain to you how to actually do the job, either directly or indirectly, either from you watching how it's done or him telling you directly how it's done. If you don't have that mentor, it's really tough for a young coach to succeed. So I would have a lot less argument against hiring a young coach if they coached under Pat Flaherty for 2 years, kind of being groomed to be an important role on the staff. Because if you think about it, at any job, if you don't have a good leader showing you what you should do and you can't learn from them and ask them questions and really kind of dig into what it takes to get to where they were, if you have a bad leader above you, you're going to, be hamstrung. Some people are just, wonderkins and can do anything they put their mind to, but not everybody's like that. And yeah, I 100% agree. I think Vallone is a clear target to be the offensive line coach whenever Pat Flaherty leaves, unless Greg decides to make a splashy hire, which, they have the money to do at this point. You have a guy like Darnell Stapleton, who was the offensive line coach at Florida. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here a bit, but I think Greg will always have options going forward, given the money he has, given that he's gotten coaches elevated in his 2.0 era. But I'm fine with this elevation in terms of promoting Scott Vallone. It's also a weird time in the calendar. Like, if this would have happened, say, if Andy Ulrich left for Harvard first week of December, second week of December, I think we might be dealing with a different situation. But given we're midway through February, spring practice is right around the corner, I think this makes a lot more sense to just kind of elevate Scott Vallone and kind of run with that rather than bring guys in. Half the guys they might be talking to aren't really interested in making a move, like you already alluded to. Yeah. So I like this hire a lot.
Yeah, my other thing is this is going all in on blocking tight ends going forward, it seems like. Now, you're going to hire the best recruiter for the tight ends position for the most part. We've said this multiple times over and over again. On staff, or I should say in-house, Scott Vallone's probably your best off-the-field recruiter right now, so it makes sense to just
Yeah.
promote him, give him a little bump. I'd say he's, yeah, no, by far. Like I know people have talked about Charlie Noonan too as a potential future assistant coach, but Scott Vallone's just been more on the recruiting trail and has been more of an asset on the recruiting trail. Charlie Noonan's helpful. Don't get me wrong; he has ties to the New England area. He's very good with some of those high school coaches, but I just said before, Scott has a 4-star on his belt, under his belt after 1 year of recruiting.
Yeah. Yep.
He's got one of the better linemen, one of the better prospects in the 2024 class in Raynor Andrews. Isaiah Crumpler is someone I wouldn't even sleep on either. Jaden Elijah in 2025. So he is the better recruiter, and that's what he's going to be. That's what he's getting paid to do now. He's going to be, obviously, he's going to coach a little bit too. He's going to help these guys learn more blocking concepts because he's been with the O-line since he's been back with Rutgers in 2020. But he's going to help them with blocking concepts and all that. In terms of receiving stuff, like from a tight end standpoint, you're going to have to look a little bit towards Dave Brock. And that's where Dave Brock's going to try to help you out as much as possible, I think, in terms of getting these guys to be better receivers. But again, it's Kirk Shiraka. It's his offense. He's only had really 1 year where he's had had really good tight end usage, and that was, I think it was 2019 with Brevin Spanford or 2021. I forget what year it was, but out of all those years, most of the time the tight end's not getting more like than 200, 300 yards in a single season. That one season was like a aberration because it was just 500 yards out of nowhere from Brevin Spanford, who's phenomenal and I think going to be a steal of the draft. But other than that, he doesn't use them. He doesn't use them ever. So this is just it's what's going to be going forward. You're going to get a certified blocker at tight end, and it's going to help the quarterback too.
Yeah, 100%. I think it also helps. Scott Vallone was a top recruit, so he was
Yeah.
given the pitch for all these top schools. He was a 4-star kid out of New York in 2008. He wasn't the top player in New York. He was the third-ranked player his senior year, but still, he kind of knows what it's like. He went to St. Anthony's, same school that KJ Duff went to, so he's got the
Yep.
connection there. Just that entire New York City football hotbed is one big family. Like everybody knows everybody, despite how big it is. You know, you would think maybe so and so wouldn't know so and so, but yeah, it's a pretty tight knit group. So it's good to have another in the New York metro area as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we haven't hit on? Because we already put out a podcast earlier today. Is there anything we haven't touched on this hire that you thought was important to talk about?
Nothing too crazy. Like I said, he is just well known as a recruiter. He's going to recruit that Long Island area better than anyone. I'd argue he's probably one of the best Long Island recruiters out there, honestly. It's not an area traditionally that produces a ton of talent, but it's getting a lot better over the past couple of years. Especially, New York in general has just gotten a lot better over the past couple of years. So I think it's definitely going to be helpful there. And for some reason, he has a really weird connection down to the Carolinas that he does really good with most of these kids. So we're seeing a lot more offensive linemen starting to tag him too in offer tweets and stuff like that. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that going forward now that he can go visit schools, go visit players, go watch them in person now too. Which again, stupid rule that you can only have 10 coaches on off campus to recruit, but having him be able to do that and having him as like one of the younger guys that connects with these guys already, it's only going to help things. I think it's a pretty solid hire. I'm not gonna, if I had to grade it, I wasn't gonna throw this out there, but if I had to grade it, I'd probably say it's a B. I'm not gonna go any higher than that or any lower than that. I think it's good based on timing, based on everything. It is a solid hire, and we'll see how he does. Maybe he gets another 4-star under his belt this cycle. So we'll just wait and see.
I do have one other note I wanted to hit on in terms of the commiseration around Syracuse continuing to fall apart. They lost their leading receiver from last year. Damian Alford was dismissed from the program. And his story was that he went to the coaching staff and told them that he was going to explore entering the portal after the spring. And the next thing he knew, he was dismissed from the team. So who knows if that's true or not. A lot of Syracuse fans are saying it's bullshit. So I don't know if that's true. That's what he's putting out there. But more turmoil at Syracuse, and some of that's normal. There's always going to be shaking up of the snow globe when a new coach arrives. But I mean, when your new head coach hires are already leaving 6 weeks to 8 weeks into their tenures, then that's not a good sign. Then you have your leading receiver leaving. I don't think that's the last of the bad news that's going to be coming into this program this offseason, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. It was reported. I shouldn't say it was reported. I reported it. Khalil Ahmad, former Rutgers guy, did end up going back to Penn State today. Fran Brand actually liked our tweet on it, which was a little funny. But I'm told there's a little not bad blood, but I'm sure I heard he wasn't too happy about the way things went down, and he lost another recruiter too in his recruiting department. And the fact that you've only been there since December and this is all going on is just not a good look whatsoever. What?
Yeah.
Who am I to judge the Orange? They did have a good recruiting class. He did have a good little start, but it's the wheels. I think one wheel is a little shaky already. It seems like so. We'll see if the whole kit and caboodle falls apart or not. But not looking good right now in the Big North. Big North, like Canada, Syracuse, same thing, right?
Yeah, big north of New Jersey or the big north of New York State.
Maine, Canada, Syracuse. What's the difference? It's cold.
It's cold and miserable, and I would not want to go there. I can't imagine why kids would once they actually make that drive.
Yeah, well, when you see that little check hit your bank account, I can understand a little bit.
Yeah, when the money clears, I get it. But
Yeah.
all right, so that's all we got today, guys. If you want to win the gnome, again, either comment below.
Is this the last one? Are we actually giving this away?
So we're gonna, we said this earlier that our next one would be after the Northwestern game, and then this happens. But here is the gnome in all its glory, as a Rutgers branded yard gnome. You can bring it to your tailgates.
Football.
Put it in your front yard. You can put it in your office. It's got a little football on it. If you want to be entered to win this gnome, you either have to enter by making a comment below mentioning the gnome, or which is our preferred method, is you have to give a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platform mentioning the gnome. And we will be drawing that Thursday night or Friday, and we will show the drawing. So we'll get in contact with you, or we'll put your name out there and try and get in contact with you. But yeah, stay tuned to Thursday or Friday, because big time basketball game we already talked about earlier today. This will be coming out on Wednesday morning, Valentine's Day. What a better day! What a better way to start your day than by listening to us Valentine's Day morning.
I see some smart people here decided to celebrate this weekend, so I don't have to do anything. I got a pizza coming. That's about it. There you go. We're done.
Yeah, Richie and his lady celebrated this past weekend, so he's freed up for the recruiting news that will probably drop. Right?
Oh God, not again. I'm not predicting any other like when our next podcast is, because every time I do it, something happens.
It's inevitable. It always does. Yeah. But
so
we'll see you soon. How about that? We will be back in your feeds in the very short future. For me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.